Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. Uh, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's technically my third time getting into Hard Rock, and my first time, fingers crossed, getting to toe the line. So yeah, first time to toe the line. If nothing terrible happens in the next few hours. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a very special mountain range. It's a very special course, and I'm looking forward to going out there and testing myself on the course and seeing what I can do. Oh, what time do I think I could run, or that the lead men can run? Well, I think it would at some point it would be awesome to see Hard Rock do the same and go under 20 hours. I've heard Brian Powell say it's possible, and I think it probably is possible. Will it happen this year? I don't know. It would be. I think there's definitely a good group of guys in there that could push for that. I don't know if any of us will manage to get it, but the with Killian's time in the mid 21s basically, and then Ludo's time in the other direction in the mid 21s. I think the stage is kind of being set. It's kind of waiting for someone to make that next leap. But we got to break 21 before we break 20. I guess we could do it all at the same time. But yeah, I think it would be awesome to one day see someone go under 20, and I do feel like it's possible. It's kind of hard for me to. It's a little like hard to fathom knowing what it was like and what it's taken to go under 20 at UTMB, and then knowing this course profile is essentially the same, but I would say with bits of terrain that run slower than UTMB, and then also a major altitude factor. But at this race, we don't have all the required gear, so we're able to go a lot lighter. And I've been thinking about that, so I think that's partly why we've been able to get the times roughly in the same ballpark. Because although we have the altitude, we do get to drop a significant amount of weight off of our bodies, which I think is very helpful. What am I carrying with me for this race? That's kind of the beauty of it. Um, it's American style, so it's take what you need. If you want to be an idiot, be an idiot. But like, we're not going to police you, which is kind of good and dangerous at the same time. So yeah, I think. But on the other hand, I think what it teaches you to do is be like a proper mountain athlete and look at the weather forecast and look at the like. Don't lean on the race organization to make all these decisions. Like, actually be a responsible mountain athlete. Look up the weather. Look at what conditions are going to be. Maybe have your crew looking as the race goes on, so that for each section, like, okay, maybe it's like a soft flask and a rain jacket and some calories, and maybe that's good enough. In other sections, it might be like some warm layers, some gloves, a jacket, like a windbreak, something like that, like an emergency blanket, an extra headlamp. But really, you can section by section take what you need. And so, yeah, I'll be trying to go pretty light. Like, I don't honestly like. I mean, the first stretch to Cunningham in the morning, 9 miles, if the weather's good, probably not carrying much more than some gels and some water, and a filter flask. A filter flask is huge on this course because you can carry less water because there's tons of water out in course if you have a filter flask. So yeah, some sections probably little more than gels and water. And then other sections, like when I go over handies, I'll definitely want to have a rain jacket in my pack. And, some sections, like at night, I might want to have a long sleeve layer in my pack as well. And of course, the headlamp and like the spare battery and the emergency backup headlamp. But yeah, not planning to take much more than what I feel I need. I mean, I want to be safe, but I think there's a little more of a cushion there, given that there's aid stations, there's there are the occasional towns. It's a race, other people are out there. So, I don't know if it's 100% responsible, but I do feel like you can roll the dice a little bit. You can cheat a bit, as opposed to if I'm out there on a training day, I'm probably taking my full phone, my headlamp, like a emergency headlamp, all my calories, my filter, my jacket, my warm layer. Like, I'm going kind of heavy if I'm going to be out there like for 7 hours by myself on a training day. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you train that much in the big mountains, and I don't know if you follow my Strava, you can tell I'm not exactly a rise with the sun guy. I'm more of like a casually roll out at like late morning to afternoon to maybe even evening. Actually, I was coming home from a training one day, and my neighbor saw me coming back, and he's probably cracking up because I think I was running home at like 10 p.m. at night, and the neighbors across the street were like having a party. They're like out partying, and I'm like finishing a run. And that's totally my style. And when you train like that, I mean, the plus is I do a lot of training in Manitou Springs, Colorado. So I'll summit Pikes Peak and get what is usually a very busy bar trail. I'll get it essentially all to myself in the evening hours coming down, and it's awesome. But but everybody in Colorado is the off the peak by noon rule to avoid the lightning, and I guess I'm a little like, I understand that rule. I just don't think it's the be all and end all. I'm more of like keep your eye on the sky, read the sky, and if you do get caught, be ready to run downhill really fast. So yeah, I do get caught sometimes. I had some days. I had one or two, or maybe a few days on like Cameron Cone, which is right near my house. That the storms were kind of kicking around. Now most of that mountain is pretty much all in tree line. So it's a little different, but like I did have one day I turned around on that. And then I had a day summiting Pikes where I went up. It was like later in the day. The other thing is, when you summit late in the day, you get the job of trying to inform all of the like late hikers that are like way over their heads, thinking they're going to hike to the top of Pikes Peak and get a ride off the top, and they don't know that the road closes and the train stops, and basically they're going to be on their own. You get the job of like talking to all those people and being like, hey, what's your plan? Like, do you know that all that stuff up there shuts down? Like, so I talked to quite a few people, but I summited one day. I ran into all these groups who was like, you guys are really, like, granted I was up there too, so I'm kind of in the same boat, but again, I'm like very familiar, and it's not my first rodeo. And I chat with them on the way up. I summit, I turn around, I'm coming back down. I see all the same groups again. I'm like, hey, everything's shutting down, whatever. And then I pass those groups, and then a short while later, it starts to like grapple. Um, and then like 5 minutes after that, I'm like a mile below the summit of Pikes Peak, but I'm like 2 miles above tree line. And it just starts to let loose and like thunder and lightning. And I was like, I just booked it. And fortunately, I guess my nutrition must have been pretty good that day because I had legs. And I flew, and I know I, I help from my years of caretaking. I spent a lot of time on that east face. I helped with search and rescues on that east face, and I'm pretty good at knowing like how to cut like directly to tree line and like not miss the bar trail. And so it was like still kind of like spring snow like conditions. So I like booked it for like half a mile, and then I was like, okay, now it's time for beelines, and I just started like cutting beelines. I got to tree line pretty quick. Um, and then once I'm in the trees, I'm pretty comfortable. It can keep storming, and I don't worry too much. And I was fine that day, but like it was closer than I wanted it to be. So like, and that's just part of being out there. I think probably a lot of my friends, if you spend that much time training in the mountains, you're gonna have a day where you get caught, and then you just try and make good decisions to get to safety.
So I'm curious about your kind of thoughts on the direction this year, counterclockwise at Hardrock this year. Do you have like, I mean, are you indifferent which direction it goes? Do you feel like one suits your strengths better than others? You're going up the ramps and down the walls this year.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of up the walls and down the ramps, but I think there's a chance that up the ramps and down the walls might suit me better. Partly, I remember chatting with Jim Walmsley a few years ago, and he talking about that, and he expressing that. I think he was saying that probably for both himself and me, up the ramps and down the walls would be better. We come from more of that American, running style.
Up, yeah.
And so like when you have all that, like the ramps are like, if you look at the ramps in this race, a lot of them, yeah, if you're prepared and feeling good, you can do a lot of running up those ramps. And since you're going up them, it counts for a lot of time in the race.
Yeah.
So if you're good at that, that can be in your favor. So yeah, I don't know. It's like kind of hard for me to say exactly what would be best for me, but I think Jim might be right in that like up the ramps might be better for me. But I guess I've trained on it in kind of both directions. But yeah, I guess I'd kind of have to race it twice to kind of determine what I think would be better for me.
Sure. Makes sense.
Zach, I remember last year, unfortunately you weren't able to take the start line, but you had a huge crew of people out here ready to support you when and if that was going to be a possibility. What is the role of your family and your crew and the big squad that they are? What does that play in your race day, and how does that help motivate you and support you? Because your family contingent, when they come out, they come out in force, and there's a huge crew, and it seems like a really positive vibe.
Yeah, well, I think they're always cheering, whether it's from near or far. This year, it's a bit more from afar. My parents are here. They came out. They're here in person. But all my niece and my 5 nephews and my sisters and brother-in-laws are all they're all back east. And they'll probably be watching online. But yeah, I mean they're a really good support network. I mean, my family's super supportive of what I do, and and takes an interest in it, following along and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, I don't have to question that I have support coming from home. Like, I don't have to question if like someone disapproves of what I'm doing or thinks it's a waste of time, or thinks it's crazy, I know that I have that support, and that's really awesome. And they're also very understanding of like the amount of time that takes. Like even like when I go home and I visit, but I still have to go out and do like several hours of training. I was home briefly this summer, and I was like in the last day of it was Sunday, the last day of training, and so I was trying to finish off my totals for the week, and I was like, but I was also supposed to hang out with my family for dinner, and I was like, well, I need vert more than I need miles. I was like, so I need something very vert efficient. So I went out and ran like in Pennsylvania. I ran up and down this like 500-foot climb that we have for like 2.5 hours. And it was like perfect because it was like, I did that. I got all my vert in like 2.5 hours. It was super efficient. I thought it was fun. And then, I drove like 15 minutes and was home to like hang out with my nieces and nephews and family. So yeah, it's always great to have them around. And then there's always my partner Jess, and she's really great. As much as I like to do things myself, I've learned over the years that she's very good at some of these things. Like she's very good with the nutrition. Because she's a dietitian, and she's very good with just kind of like doing some of the logistics, and she's very good with the sewing machine. So rather than like trying to do all this stuff myself, I've learned to lean on Jess a bit more and to be like, hey, can you sew this thing? Can you sew this logo on to my gear for my sponsor? Or can you alter this piece of gear that broke? Or can you make this alteration because I want it a specific way? And she can pull out the sewing machine and do those things with me, or help me through nutrition and stuff like that. And so leaning on her has definitely been very nice. And then she's just incredibly supportive and understanding. I've just learned that if I'm going to be like an hour overdue from a run in the dark, it just helps if I text her and let her know, and then she's fine.
Sure, she appreciates that. Yeah. So you mentioned you mentioned like totals and wanting to hit certain vert. I believe you coach yourself, right?
Yeah.
So how do you tell us a little bit about how you determine like what these totals are? Or you kind of write a plan for yourself, or how does that come about?
Yeah, I just take like Killian's training, Walmsley's training, Francois's training, and one random person from Strava and put them in a hat.
And
then,
one
like,
random
pick one
person
out.
from Strava?
Yeah, and then just like pick one out, and then that's what. No, no, how do I even describe my training?
Because you're consistently doing, just so people know, like 120 plus mile weeks with 40 to 50,000 feet of climbing. I mean,
yeah.
Do you look at hours?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think my lack of like quick response here kind of expresses how my training is.
Okay.
I've kind of developed some methods over the years. I've developed certain like workouts that I like. I kind of bounce around a little of like how focused I am on miles versus vert versus time. But yeah, I do. I guess for this race, I'll go through phases. Sometimes I'm more concerned with mileage, and then other times I'm more concerned with vert. I'm probably almost always pretty interested in the hours. But yeah, for this race, to be honest, for this race this year, I kind of kept eyeballs on all three: mileage, vert, and time. Largely vert. When I was in Bend through like the winter into the spring, I was trying to hit around 30,000 feet a week, which is roughly what Hardrock is. But I was doing that. I was letting myself, I was having an issue with my knee this year. I was letting myself accumulate that over skiing, cycling, and running.
Okay.
So I tried to get in those early stages of training, I tried to get my vert volume up to 30,000 over a mix of skiing, running, and cycling. And then when I came out to Colorado, I settled in to, and I was probably also trying to get somewhere around like, I was probably still building it up, but building it up to around like 21 hours a week while I was in bed. And then when I got to Colorado, I got a lot more run focused. And yeah, I fell into this groove of around 120 to 125 miles a week with around 40 to 43,000 feet of vert. One week was like 39,850 or something.
Close enough.
Yeah, and that's kind of the groove I fell into. I was like, this feels pretty good. I'm pretty happy here, and yeah. But then a lot of hours. Like then I was like also logging probably anywhere from like 21 to 30 hours. Because some weeks I was also doing like hour heat sessions on the bike. So like I'd do a run and then I'd also like, crank the heat and get on my trainer and ride for an hour. And you know, is heat training necessary for Hardrock? Maybe, maybe not. It's partly like a training stimulus I was toying around with and actually enjoying, strangely. So kind of like just sort of a training stimulus I was playing with. But also a training stimulus that I thought might be helpful. It is supposed to be helpful with like red blood cell production. So I definitely utilized that in Bend when I was not at as high of altitude as I would have preferred, but continued using it in Colorado when I was like in the Springs, but not here in the San Juans. And also interested in it for the potential, heat benefits on a hot day. Granted, this isn't really thought of as a hot race, but I do remember. I just have memories of like every day, every year that I'm here serving donuts in Ouray. It just feels. Now, granted, I'm in my bus with the burners going and the fryer going. It just feels stinking hot. So I'm like, I don't have a great history with heat. So I'm like, if I could even like help myself a little bit with the heat by doing some of this, great. And if it was like pointless and did no good, I got like an extra 60 minutes of cardio, in that didn't pound my knee or my legs. But yeah, that's kind of like,
cool.
I guess the stuff I was focused on with like training variables.
Okay, amazing. I think we might have to wrap because we have a loud audio speaker coming. They're going to start the women's panel.
Yeah.
But Zach, thanks for taking a few minutes. Wishing you the best out there. Really excited to see you racing. I think I speak for the whole ultra running community when I say thank you for being visible on Strava. You were dark for a long time. It's really, really fun to follow your training now.
Yeah. Typically, everything I do is on there. Every now and then, I might, for some reason, make something private, but that's super rare.
Okay.
I think I've maybe made one run private over like my entire use of Strava.
Well, thank you for that because it's impressive and it I think shows what it takes to get ready to perform at the highest level at this race. So.
Yeah. You either see what it takes or what messes it up. One of the two.
Yeah,
you never know.
We learn from it.
Zach, just before we go, I just want to ask this question because I got a little bit of insight to it last year. But what amount of carbs are you hitting per day over these next 2 or 3 days before the race?
Oh, the next 2 or 3 days. Last year we were wanting to try and do like the prescribed amount based on body weight. But Jess just asked me last night, she's like, are you doing that this year? And I was like, no, I don't think so. Like I want to eat a lot of carbohydrates like today and tomorrow, but I don't want to be so fixated on like, I was like, we haven't practiced that in training. And I was like, I feel like if I go out in the race and have a day, like a solid day in training, I'll be in good shape for the race. So like, I don't want to make any drastic changes. I just want to like make sure that I'm well fueled over the next 2 days. Like, maybe sipping on some extra like carbohydrate beverages and things, but I don't want to overload my stomach or anything. I want my stomach to be ready to accept all the fuel. I've done a lot of work of like fueling during runs and working on that. But I think one thing that can throw that off for me is if like my stomach is like too overloaded going into race morning. I need it to be ready to like continually consume calories all day long. So yeah, I won't consume a lot of carbs, but there aren't any like strict rules on it over the next 2 days.
Corinne, have we
Yeah.
got time to ask?
I think we do. Until we get
what is-
overloaded with the.
We can just go
we
until
can
they
just
start.
go until they actually start.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, good.
What,
Okay, perfect. We're good. We've got time.
All right, so let's get into what that nutrition fueling strategy for your race looks like. What's it currently sitting like? Is it sitting on a spreadsheet, or is it like your training just sitting in your head? And what is it?
Yeah, it's more sitting in my head, but it's Jess and I have kind of simplified it this year. I use, I'm fortunate to work with the feed, so I have access to a lot of products, and I use a variety of things in training. But for race day, we've kind of simplified it down to the things that I've gravitated to in training. And also after I did that, when I did the day on Pike, I had a big day of training on Pikes Peak where I actually strangely lost my stomach for like 10 miles of it. And my stomach was just not working, and it was odd for that to happen to me. I got it back for the end of the run, but I had this period in the middle where it got all messed up. It was largely a period where I was very high altitude, so we didn't know if it was the altitude. We really think it may have just been like an hydration issue. I started out in town from my house, went up Cameron Cone, and that's just was kind of like I think I probably was like just barely breaking even with hydration, and I think I may have just gotten behind on hydration. But anyways, after that happened, the problem that day was I was fueling a lot of my carbs were coming from my drink. But my body didn't really want carbs anymore, it seemed, or wasn't accepting them. But that's all that was in my drink. And the problem with having everything tied to your drink is then you're kind of out of luck. You need to drink, but you can't drink because the carbs are not working. And so we said, hey, let's separate everything out and play with that these last like few weeks of training. So that's what we did. We've separated everything out. I have my bottles are water. My electrolytes are in precision capsules. And my fuel is in precision gels, precision 90 gels, and SIS isotonic gels, because sometimes in the race you'll get a stretch where you don't have enough water, like you're doing okay, but you just can't get water quite yet. And so the isotonic gels are at the right, Jess explained to me, the isotonic gels are at the right like ratio so that you don't need additional water with them. So your gut should stay happy even if you're not consuming water. So I do basically a precision 90 every hour. And then if I need more, or if I hit a gap where I'm like, need to fuel but don't have water, I hit the SIS gels. And that lets me get probably anywhere from like, if I'm taking the SIS isotonics, I'll get, that's another 22 grams. So I'll get like, what is that, like 112 grams of carbs an hour. And I can even go a little bit more if I feel like I need it. I just kind of carry extra of those SISs, and that's what I supplement with on top of the 90s. And that way also, if there's a, like, if I can't be having water with my 90s, I can switch to SIS gels until I have water again, and then go back to the 90s. And that way we keep everything kind of like as controlled as possible. If I'm getting too much sodium, I can cut out the pills. If I'm not getting enough, I can add more pills. If I'm not getting enough water, I can add more water. If it's too much water, I can take it away. And if I need more or less carbs, I can do that. That way, everything gets adjusted based on like how I'm feeling. And I don't get stuck being like, oh, well, I really need to drink, but my body won't take carbs, so now I can't drink either. So,
Smart.
So we've just simplified it like that. And it also means we don't have to mix any drinks, which is amazing. Nice. Like no powders.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I have a question about kind of the race strategy or the run strategy and the competitive end of this. Like we've seen in I guess, both the men's and women's fields of these very competitive races over the last year, people just kind of going for it from the gun, and sometimes that working out, sometimes it not, but it also leading to, sometimes these amazing breakthroughs and times being run. I know you're someone who likes to race pretty aggressively, or I would say that, but how are you thinking about this? Do you plan to run with the pack? Do you plan to just go at your own pace that feels comfortable? Are you running against your competitors? Or are you running, I know you said you're running kind of against the course, but like, what is your mindset around that?
Yeah, I mean, as I've said in other interviews, like, this race is three things. It's a race against yourself, it's a race against your competitors, and it's a race against the course. And the course side of it is a very big aspect in this particular race, just given the terrain, the altitude, just everything it entails. But yeah, I am known as being an aggressive racer. I like running aggressively. I mean, when I watch the sport, if we're watching Western States or something, and somebody's out front on this aggressive pace, and they're like, "Man, I can't believe he's through," and like this split, like no one thinks they can hold it, but like half the crowd's like, "But what if he does hold it?" Like and it doesn't have to be me. It could be Walmsley, or it could be Caleb Olson, or whoever. That's super exciting when someone's out there and they're just like, I don't know if this is possible, but we're going to watch. He's either going to like set a record or he's going to like blow up spectacularly. That's super exciting. So part of me is drawn to that and wants to like, part of me is like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to be on like course record pace or like sub 20 hour pace or some crazy thing and have people all riled up being like, I don't know, can they do this? Can this work? But the other part of me is like looks back to UTMB and my last UTMB that year with Jim and Germain, and being like, well, what did I do there? And it's like, well, I really just kind of like chilled the first 10K, worked my way into the lead group, ran strong with them, and then like I sort of just kind of naturally found a groove somewhere, took off when I hit that groove, and then fought really hard at the end. And that was kind of more of maybe like a smart way of racing, which resulted in, for me, like a really good overall finish and also a really good time. So I think, so the other side of me wants to learn from that and be like, hey, maybe we kind of like go out there and kind of like not be an idiot right off the bat, even though it's tempting, so yeah. But I think ultimately with this is it goes back to how I train for these big mountain races. And it's like when I'm out on a hard training day and I want to do like a good time on a training day, but I also like when I want to do a good time, I'm not necessarily going like super hard out the gate. I'm looking for my rhythm in the specific mountain terrain that I'm in. And there's like, it's maybe hard to explain, but there's just sort of like, there's a groove that I can find when I'm in the mountains that I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, this is my rhythm. Like, this feels good. This feels smooth. This feels like sustainable. Like, this is fast, but this is clicking. And so I hope to find that rhythm out there. And I think ultimately that's what I'm looking for, because I think I've done the training, if the training proves to be good and the nutrition and things go well and I find that rhythm, I feel like those three things together should theoretically result in a good day. There's no guarantee, of course, but so I think ultimately I say all of that to come to the fact that I'm hoping to find my smooth, efficient rhythm in the mountains. And then like when the moment presents itself, that maybe I need to like kind of like go to the well, that I can do that. But I want to do that out of the space of like my rhythm.
Nice.
And that's what I'm looking for.
That's awesome.
So good.
Really good.
And we hope that you find that as well, Zach, by the way. We'll be definitely, whether we see you in person or whether we're away from you, we'll be quietly cheering you on for sure. I had a question. It might be a wrap-up, might not. Depends what you got coming, Corinne. But I was just going to ask, mate. You know, it's 2:15 local time here. At 2:30 p.m., there is the Women of Hardrock's panel, which is put on through the support of the North Face, one of your main sponsors, and the crew that are putting that together and make that happen is a really dedicated crew of people, and it's a great thing to see. What are your thoughts on the side of expanding this sport through inclusivity, equality, like bringing more people into this world to try and like collectively lift this whole sport up together to, potentially a really positive future and a future that we're all proud of and that we can all celebrate. Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want the sport of ultra running to feel exclusive by any means. I think anybody should feel like they're welcome in this sport, whether it's as a participant or as a fan, as a spectator, as a coach, whatever capacity is, as a race director. I think I want it to be a sport that everyone's welcome. And, it's like, I grew up in a family that was super welcoming. Like when you came home from college, if you brought friends home with you, like they were welcome at the Thanksgiving table or the Christmas dinner table. Like, it didn't. There were no qualifications. There were no like things that needed to be done to be accepted. There, you don't have to be from a certain place or abide by a certain thing. It was just like, I grew up in a home where like if you were there, you were welcome, and mom was gonna like get you a plate of food, and that's like a culture I grew up in, and I think that's the type of culture I would like ultra running to be. So I think to races that I've gone to in Pennsylvania where I grew up, it's like, we have races there where it's like practically like a family reunion when they put on the race, and afterwards there's like I'm specifically thinking of the Heiner Trail Challenge. Like, it's like a stinging family reunion. Like, they have like a barbecue and all this food, and it's for everybody. Like, if you ran the race, if you came to watch the race, if you just came to heckle, like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're there, it's for you, and that's how I want ultra running to be. And so I think the efforts, society has certainly like stumbled our way through things over the years, and we haven't always made everyone feel accepted in all spaces. And so I think the efforts to make sure that ultra running is inclusive in that way is really, really great, and something that, we should continue just to make it like a welcoming space. It should just be a space where anybody is welcome to take part.
I'm sorry to put another question in here.
Go ahead.
You said one word then in that answer, Zach, and the word was fan.
Uh-huh.
And it makes me think of Bill Duper.
Oh, yeah.
How does Bill Duper play a part in your day out there at Hardrock?
Yeah, Bill Duper is sort of like a little bit of like a North Star for me out there. For those who are unaware, you should go look up his YouTube video by Solomon. I think it's called The Ultimate Fan.
Oh, the Super Fan?
The Super Fan or The Ultimate Fan, something like that. One, you should look at it because Bill was always very proud of that, and he would like tell you how many views it had or whatever. He was just he really like got a kick out of being in that film, and it's a really good film.
The
Bill,
Ultimate Fan.
Yeah, The Ultimate Fan.
Yeah.
You should definitely look it up on YouTube. Great little film. Bill was a guy who was from like the Midwest. He wasn't necessarily a huge runner. He maybe ran a few races. He definitely did some training stuff like lifting weights and whatnot. But he lived in Leadville, somehow became a huge fan of the sport. And, we called him Super Duper. He was the ultimate fan. He'd be at Hardrock like every year. He'd be at Leadville, of course, because he lived there. And yeah, I met Bill here because my buddy Brandon Stepanowicz from the Springs knew Bill. And I think in that year, Brandon was running Hardrock. I was pacing Brandon. And I think Brandon actually went to Leadville on his way to Silverton and picked Bill up and drove him out to Hardrock, gave him his ride. And then I ended up meeting Bill through Brandon, and Bill became like infatuated with me for whatever reason, and he was like big fan. And I was caretaking at bar camp, and he would like call me on the phone, and he had all these like funny things he'd say. Like he always called us like the Colorado Springs Wrecking Crew because it was like
That's good.
me and Brandon and Alex Nichols and I guess way back in the day, Anton used to live in the Springs, but I don't know if Bill was aware of that or not. But anyways, we were his Colorado Springs Wrecking Crew, and he would root for us and call us on the phone and ask us about our races and stuff. And Bill always wanted to see me do Hardrock. I think he was kind of like bummed that I was so distracted by UTMB. The first time I actually got into Hardrock, I think, was 2017. I didn't really mean to get in. I just meant to start my process with my tickets. Didn't really understand Dale's picks. Got in, but decided that basically, one, for fear of never being, I didn't know if I was a Dale's pick, but I was afraid that if I was and said no, I might never be a Dale's pick again. So I think one, out of fear for that, and two, out of wanting to run it for Bill, even though I really wanted to go to UTMB, I decided I was going to run Hardrock. But then I got a back injury, ended up dropping my spot, or giving up my spot. And then, unfortunately, Bill passed away before I ever actually made it to run Hardrock. But I've kept his card from his memorial ceremony in Leadville that we had. And I wanted to put it in my pack last year and take Bill for a lap around the San Juans. Like my buddy Brandon would like text me like when I'm training, and he'd be like, Bill, like he's out, like Bill's out there somewhere, like he's in those mountains, and everybody believes different things about like the afterlife and whatnot, but I guess that like really touched me when like Brandon said that, like he'd be like, I don't know if you can feel him, but he's out there. And so I still have his card in my bus. It's been there above my sink like all year, and I'm just really wanting to put it in my pack on Friday and take Bill for a loop around the San Juans. So I don't know. Maybe I'll make it. Maybe I won't. But I'm really hoping that I can take Bill for a good lap. I don't really know. Like, I don't know if Bill can actually watch or anything. But if he can, I hope we can give him a good show.
Oh, bro, you're definitely going to do that. Trust me, all right? He's 100% looking down on you, and he'll be so happy and so grateful that you've stuck to your guns. And man, he's 100% going to be out there with you.
Yeah.
And it's all going to be amazing, and you're going to have a great day. And yeah, man, it's going to happen. It's going to be good.
Yeah. So. Okay, well, thank you.
We're excited for you, Zach. Hope you
Yeah.
have an amazing day, and yes, carry him with you. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm certainly looking forward to it, and you got me with that question.
Sorry, bro.
That's super uncommon. But yeah, thanks for delving into that a bit.
It's good
Dude,
to honor him.
he's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard you speak about him many times before, and it's like it just makes us realize how unimportant all the times and all the carbs per hour and all the records and all that stuff. Like sometimes it's just like there's something just so much more powerful and motivating than all of that. And I think you've spoken to it in that regard. And like I'm sure so many other people are out there this weekend that are going to be motivated by people and loved ones and all those other things, which is so powerful, like it's so powerful.
And just for the love of the sport and the love of the mountains, really.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it
There's a
comes
lot
down to.
more. As competitive as I am, and as much as I enjoy training and trying to go fast at things, there's a whole lot more to the sport than that, and I'm really grateful that there is. It's a special thing, and
It is
I'm
special.
very grateful to be a part of it.
Likewise, absolutely. All right, man.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you.
All the best this weekend.